Hello, hello. I hope everyone's doing great and everyone is all right. So this is just a quick instructional video, informational video on how the class will operate. And so this class is for 155 and 161. So it doesn't matter which class you're in. The video still holds true. The parameters are still the same. How you get into your assignments will still be the same, and so on. So if you go into your Canvas shell, all right, you can go to your Canvas announcements and you should see various emails that I've sent to you guys up to this point. So we're just gonna walk through those emails real quick, and then we'll go to Math Lab and all the good stuff like that. So the first one, just a course description, let you know what type of class this is. This is a online asynchronous class, which means that we don't have any meetings or any scheduled meetings. It's just that you would do your work at your own pace, of course, based according to trying to get everything done before the deadline. And we'll see what that deadline is in a second. Okay. Also, it was a class start date. Remember, I sent all of these emails early, so that if anybody wanted to get started early, I didn't have a problem with that. We'll just remind you the class started on 6/1. Next, required materials. So you will be required to purchase access to MathLab. And so this is the way you would do so. Well, let me go back. If you're going to purchase access to MathLab through TCC bookstore, then you would do that outside of these instructions. But the way to register, you would go to mathlab.com, mymathlab.com, click to register, use this course ID. Now, this is for 155, for 161, you had a different course ID. So once again, pay attention to the emails and the announcements that you received. But the instructions are still the same outside of this course ID. Then you would input the code. Well, let me go back. So then from there, once you input the course ID, you have three options. If you purchase your access through an outside source, you would have an access code and you would input that code. So if you bought it from TCC's bookstore, if you bought it from, I don't know if you can get it from Amazon, if you bought it from some outside source, then you would have an access 16-digit access code. If you hadn't done that, you could purchase access, which you would get access from Pearson itself. They wouldn't give you a code since you're right there. You just get the full access. And then if you're not ready to purchase at this moment, but you want to go ahead and get started, you get a 14-day free pass. The way the 14-day free pass works is that you have 14 days full access. Once the 14 days are up, they will prompt you to go ahead and purchase access. If you don't purchase access at that moment, you will lose your privileges. You will not lose your progress, though. So I will still be able to see what you've done up to that point. You won't be able to, but once you pay, you will get that access back. All right. MATLAB specifics, how we will be using MATLAB. First thing, just recognize the statement right here. MATLAB does not work well with Safari. So for some reason, it does not interface well with Safari as your internet browser. So make sure you use either Chrome or Firefox. Chrome always works well for me, and they are free to download. So Chrome works well, and you shouldn't have any problem with that. So looking at how we will be using MathLab, notice you cannot pass the course without access to MathLab. All your assignments, tests, and everything we do, final exam, all that is generated through MathLab. The way you show your participation and or the way to get your attendance and is by showing the participation and showing activity in MathLab. And you at least want to do that weekly. At least want to do that weekly. And I will be looking at that, like I said, weekly. You don't have to get in there every day, but you do want to get in there frequently because this is a short session. If you're having any issues with anything, make sure you communicate that with me so that I can be aware and I can work with you accordingly to make sure that you have a plan of getting caught up. All right, when it comes to homework, you have unlimited amount of attempts to get the best grade possible. With unlimited amount of attempts, I'm looking for at least a 75 or better for your homework. So 75 to 84.9, you'll get at least a 90, you'll get a 90% in my grade book. 85 to 100, you will get 100%. So really, you should want to shoot at least for 85 so you can get full 100%. Right. Now that adjustment is something that I would do when it comes to your final grading. There's no way for me to program MATLAB to do that. So I will bump that up as far as your grades are concerned, your homework grades are concerned in my final grading. Test reviews are not mandatory, but if you score 85 or better, you'll get 5 points added to that respective test. Once again, they're not mandatory, but for every test, there is a test review. Even for your final exam, there will be a final exam review that's in MATLAB that's set up just like a homework. You can do it as many times as you like, get what kind of practice, whatever practice you want out of it. Once again, they're not mandatory. When it comes to your test, I would say at least take a look at the test review so you at least know what type of problems you're going to see on your test. But if you don't, it's no problem. Once again, they're not mandatory. If you go into it, do a couple problems, come out of it, it still won't harm your grade. When it comes to your test, you get the best grade to get the best grade possible. You have 2 attempts. I mean, if you want another attempt, it's just a conversation. It's not a big deal, especially if something crazy happened, like the cat walk across your keyboard or something of that nature. But without any conversation, you do get 2 attempts on your test. And then any scratch work, make sure you email me a copy of that when it comes to your test submissions, not homework, just your test submissions. All right. Let's look at the next one. Also, I've sent you previously recorded lectures, wherein all the lectures that I would do in the class are right here recorded. If you were in person with me, you would get these same lectures, same notes, same guy talking. For 151, I do not start lecture in chapter 1 because it's mainly definitions. And you're going to see in, not 151, 155, excuse me, statistics. For 155, I start the lectures at chapter 2 because there are a little bit of confusion with some of those terms. But in chapter 1, it's pretty much straightforward. They're mainly definitions. And so that's why lectures start with chapter 2. All right, for 161, though, come on back. All right. So for 161, it should start with chapter 1. Yep, start with chapter 1 and everything from beginning to end is there. All right. So let's look at MATLAB. Oh, don't want to sign in yet. So if you're talking about registering, you go right here to student access. We are using LMS, that's Canvas, but we're not connecting it. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Let me go back. There are some of you that are in a first start program, something like that. I forgot what the name of the program. And you can register right here at Course Materials. Really, anyone could if they wanted to do that. It was something that I was told short notice. So I had 2 different ways pretty much of how you can register for MATLAB. If you follow just the regular instructions, then go ahead and do so that I've given through your announcements. But right here at Course Materials, for those who are in the program and you've already paid for it through the program and everything, Course Materials, this should have your stuff linked already. All right. So going back there. Okay, so you're registered, ready to register. For those who are registering this way, and you'll put in your course ID right here that I gave you, whether it's Tucker, whatever the number is. And then from there, you put in your information, your credentials, email address and all the good stuff like that, password. And then you'll be able to register, and then you'll be able to see all of your assignments. Hold on a second. This is not. All right, let me go back. So let's sign in, and then we'll. All right, so let's look at the course. I'm going to go into 155 again because there's something specific for 155 I need to point out. But as far as the course is concerned, notice I didn't mention syllabus till right now because everything I do, I'm trying to push you to MATLAB because that's where all of your stuff is, all of your assignments. The only thing I could not do is put your emails and the class announcements in here. I didn't mention this before, but I will be archiving any class emails in your Canvas announcements. So if you ever have any questions on if I've sent the class anything or whatever, if you missed any emails from the class, then always check your Canvas announcements. But your syllabus is right here. And like I said, if you even if you 161, you should see a syllabus as one of the first one or two links. And then your assignments is the next one. And notice that it says, well, for your class, let me go back because your class is not 731. I want to make sure I give you an accurate date. Come on, guy. All right. Yeah, this should be it right here. All right. So your due date is 7/24. That's when everything is due. Notice all your assignments have the same date. It just leaves room for life to happen, and you don't have to ask for any extension. Just get caught up. You guys have 7 weeks, and 7/24 is that time. And so you got notice set up chapter 1, chapter 2, test review, then test 1, chapter 3, chapters 4, test review, test 2, and that's how it is. And for 155, you're going to chapter 8, and then you see final exam review. You should see everything except for your actual final exam because you don't need it at this moment. I'm going to send you some separate instructions on how we're going to do a final exam. We'll talk about that as we get closer to it. And then everything after final exam, during the 16-week course, we may be able to get to these things, but you guys probably will not be able to. So we stopping right here after 8.2. And so anything after that is extra credit. All right. Let me see if I can do this real quick. See if it'll let me do what I want to do. Yeah, that'll be good. So for 161, I want to show you this. Go into your assignments. Yours pretty much cover everything. So notice your final exam will be right here after your content. So you will have to cover everything. The main reason is because you guys actually need it because you remember this class is 161, but then you have 163. I think it's 163 or 162. Anyway, part 2 of this, because you're going to do this pre-calc 1, then you have pre-calc 2, and that's a continuation. Same book, and then it starts in chapter 5, though. So that's why you need, all of this because it's a continuation going forward. So just trying to set you up right. All right. So for 155, you have these definitions that you have to take care of. 161, just all math. You don't have any definitions, but 155, you have some definitions and some terms that you need to take care of. Make sure your foundation is straight, just because statistics has its own language. And so you want to get those done and get them knocked out as soon as possible. Today is 6/3. So I guess by 6/14, I'll send you an email, remind you to get those to me. And all you want to do is just do those terms. You can find them in your e-text, which is right here. And both classes have an e-text. You can access it the same way. Open my e-text. And for those definitions, it wasn't a scavenger hunt. It wasn't made to be anything traumatic or anything difficult to do. Just open your e-text, and all your definitions are in order, and they're highlighted and bolded. It's just an exercise to help you get familiar with those terms, and those terms will help you when it comes to your homeworks. So, especially in chapter 1, chapter 2, that's the main thing that is based on definitions. So you see, first question is, what is the first two? What is the two definitions of statistics? So you see that right there. Then next it would ask you population parameter. and then sample raw data, sample statistics. So they're in order. And like I said, it wasn't made to be something that was difficult, but just to familiarize you with the terms. So you see what are two definitions: statistics, population parameter, sample raw data, and so on. All right. And like I said, those definitions, you can get those to me no later than 6/14. Of course, you can send them early. But you want to get them to me as soon as possible, get them out the way, and then go ahead and move on. And once again, those definitions should help you in your homework because it should be asking you the same type of things. All right. So then from there, let's look at how MATLAB works. What? It's not gonna let me in. Oh, that was crazy. All right, so let's just go in here. All right, so I'm just gonna put in anything just so we can check. So notice it says that's incorrect. Gives me a possible hint. They're trying to give me a hint. Let me say not a possible hint. It gives me a hint as to how to do it. Check again, give me a hint, and then notice it says final check. So normally, under normal circumstances, you get 3 chances to get the answer correct before they mark it wrong. And then right there is where they tell you what the actual answer is. From there, if you want to hit similar question, you can hit next question, or if you want to. If you didn't hit similar question at that moment, then you can hit similar question right here, and that resets the problem. Same problem, just different numbers, and you can walk through it. So down here are your help tools. Help me solve this. Most people do not hit that because what it does is to mark the answer wrong and then walk, just helps you solve it. So of course they're not gonna give you credit for that. Most people, what they do is do view an example wherein it opens up a window of that problem, walking you through it, just with different numbers. And my internet or even MATLAB today is moving a little slow. Okay, they're a little better. But yeah. And then from here, get more help. They have textbook that, in other words, that will take you to a place in the textbook where this problem is discussed. Ask My Instructor actually sends me an email where where you let me know you have a problem with this problem. If you do that, then what I'll do is respond back to you and ask you how do you want to move forward? Do you want to meet through Zoom? Do you want me to continue through email? You want to make a little video for you? Tell me how you want me to help you with this problem and so on. So let me go to another one though. That one didn't have that many help tools. All right, let's try this. No, didn't mean to do that. Let's see if this one will do it. And because I'm jumping between two different courses, is adding funky. Yep. All right. So let me do this. I want to show you the other options that they normally give. But depending on the complexity of the problem, you may not get all those options because it depends on what's going on. Let's see. Let me go to chapter 3. All right. So all right, so right here, I showed you help me solve this, view an example, but here, notice that you have more options. And so it just depends on the complexity of the problem wherein that would dictate how many options they give here for your, help tools. Video is just another video of a Pearson instructor talking about this type of problem. And I already mentioned textbook. For those in 155 dealing with statistics, it will give you StatCrunch, which is Pearson's version of Excel. And then Tech Help is actually sending a message to Pearson's tech support. And we are talking about Ask My Instructor. So they, depending on the complexity of the problem, you could have more, options here. Let me go ahead and just play with this one a little bit. I didn't mean to get that right, but that's okay. Let me go here. Awesome, I got the whole thing right. Didn't mean to do that. Let me do this. Okay, got it wrong. Okay, notice how in that case you only got two options, just because once again, um, it's a type of problem. So let me see if this one will do it. All right, and that one gave me one choice. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the notation on your problems. If you got the whole thing incorrect, you'll get a red X. If you get the whole thing correct, you get a green check. And then if you got part of it right, part of it wrong, green check / red X. For these two, if you were to go back and do the problem and get it all right, then it will replace the icon with just a green check and you will get full credit. All right. So that's pretty much it. Trying to make sure there isn't anything else before I sign off, about the due dates or due date, which is just 7/24. Make sure there's nothing else left. Yeah, so due date 7/24. Final exam will be done during the week of 7/24. And what's going to happen is I will give you 4 or 5 options to choose from. Some will be in the morning, some will be afternoon. Have at least one evening session as well. So maybe 2 weeks leading up to it, I'll give you those options so that you can choose from. And then you will meet me in Zoom and take your exam, enable your camera, show your ID, take your exam, and then you'll be done. That'll be it. And go from there. So that should be it. Just let me know if you have any questions and look forward to having you for this summer session. You all take care.